Welcome back to Down the Track. In this episode, we'll be reviewing the third T20 between India and New Zealand. Who said that you can win the toss and just bowl and win games? You can win the toss and bat and win games as well. Dew was taken out of the equation, even though it was there. And a very good performance from India. I was surprised it was so one-sided. I felt New Zealand would, get close to that target. But I have with me my co-host Abrar. How did you enjoy that game? And were you surprised with the way the game ended?
Yes, I thought it was a one-sided game. First of all, I would like to say before you started, you said who said that you can win the toss and bowl only. Who said you can't win the toss? You can win three in a row also. That's all part of luck,
That's true. That's true.
so so that was surprising as well. Three in a row. It's usually the odds get heavily stacked against you the more you win. So this is a refreshing change for Indian cricket, I
Making
guess.
up for
So
the World Cup where you lost almost every toss. Yeah.
almost every toss. So yeah, it worked out nicely for India and for Rohit Sharma. I think the game was one sided. I was a little bit surprised that they were able to bowl them out so well, and a big 73-run victory was definitely something that they will really enjoy the Indian cricket. So the Rohit and Rahul era started off very interestingly. So when they started off in the first game, it was a close, nervy game where they almost lost it and they won by 3 balls to spare. Then in the second game, a little bit better because they won by 3 overs to spare. And in the third game, a proper dominating performance where they won by 73 runs. So I think that the team is starting to gel well. You'll have to remember that New Zealand is coming after just a World Cup final, which they lost
Hmm.
2 days after. Not a full strength team. Kane was missing. A couple of the other Sodhi was there. Were different bowlers that were tried. Devon Conway is injured and stuff like that. So there have been some changes that obviously make New Zealand side a lot stronger. I think we can't take anything away from the fact that this is more like uh, a series where they were just trying to make up the numbers versus
But
really
India
competing
also had that. Like, I mean, no
to
Kohli,
an
no
extent,
Bumrah, no
right?
Shami. And no Jadeja to an extent, but it worked in India's favor because those guys didn't perform in the World Cup. A lot of them, and then they came to the over here. The rest of the players who stepped in, they stepped in really well.
I agree 100%. I think this is a good start for the new T20 area with only 10 months left. I think that they've a few things that they wanted to check off. There are still problems. I still think that the middle order is a little subpar. But the fact that you need to find a replacement, or if Hardik Pandya is injured or not able to perform, I think Venkatesh Iyer is starting to fill that role a little bit. They have tried similar players. If you remember, we've tried the Shivam
Hmm.
Dubey, we've tried a Vijay Shankar, similar
Yes.
kind of players, to be honest. But I think that Venkatesh Iyer has this aura about him after a very good IPL. He can smack the ball around. He's able to bowl a little bit better in terms of speed and I think control of the ball as well, which we saw today as well. 3 overs to 12 runs and a wicket. It's pretty decent.
Fantastic
So
spell.
yeah. So I think that there is a little bit more in terms of control, and I think it'll only get better, which is nice to see. And the bowling department also, the spinners there was a little bit of an issue. You brought in a Rahul Char in the World Cup, but you didn't play him till it was all over. But Chahal
Yeah.
comes in, he bowls another good spell. Ash is looking like $1 million now. So Akshar Patel, who's probably going to still be a backup to Jaddu, is performing like $1 million again. So there are things that are starting to tick for this Indian cricket team. I think the small issues, if they can figure that out, I think that they have a good opportunity to go out there in the Australian conditions and really take the game, take the tournament, get the tournament back for India, which is a long time coming now.
Yeah, and you mentioned Chahal, he picked up the wicket of Guptill, which was a big wicket. Guptill was
Yeah,
batting really well for New
yeah,
Zealand. Apart from him, not much there. But if you just look at India's batting, Rohit Sharma again, another 50. I think he has the highest T20 50s in internationals, if I'm not mistaken. Then Kohli
30.
and then Babar Azam. Yeah, he has
Yeah.
30 international 50s. So another really good start. He's making up for that. We already saw him pick up form in the last few games in the T20 World Cup, and now with captaincy, it's not affecting him. He's still batting really well, and yeah, good strike rate as well. I think that's what I was most impressed with. Today they showed aggressive intent, him and Ishan Kishan, as they came out to batter, especially in the power play.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that Rohit Sharma, I mean, there's no denying the fact that he's an absolutely world class player. But the problem is that I think people forget very soon. like a few 3 or 4 bad games, and then suddenly there's questions about your batting intent, or there's questions about your
Yeah,
form. There's questions about a lot of these questions that suddenly come out, and we saw a lot of it when in the Pakistan game, or for example the New Zealand game, when there was a little bit of chopping changing. I don't agree with that chopping and changing, but that suddenly after that everyone's talking about, oh, is Rohit Sharma fit to play? And there was this question that Virat Kohli was thrown at as well: is Rohit Sharma your player? And these kind of stupid things that come out every time. But I think that there is no denying from 2007 when he first walked into that cricket into the Indian dressing room, everyone knew he had the talent. There were things he needed to figure out. Yes, I think that he's blossomed a little later in his career, which is, I think, over the past 5 or 6 years he's been really good. And I think since 2019 World Cup was when he really stamped his authority
exactly.
as
I was the biggest critic of Rohit Sharma up until 2019 because I'm like, this guy throws his wicket. He has so much talent. I still criticized him after that during the Australia series. We both criticized him
yeah.
for that. But in terms of what he did in the 2019 World Cup, scoring 5 centuries in a World Cup like that, and the way he scored his runs, if you just look at the other scores as well, the 260 or the 213, in one day international, he's scoring double hundreds at will. It's not easy to do. So, credit for him. Even in the test matches he's picked up, he scored 100. He's looking good in all formats, and he's shown his class over the last few years for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And he, unfortunately, like I said, a little late blossom, but I think he's really stepped up his game, and
Yeah.
he's been a beauty to watch over the past 3 to 4 years at least, for sure. So there's no denying that. And Ishan Kishan, we know that he's that hit or miss kind of guy. He's almost what Rohit Sharma was back in 2007, when you see that
Yeah.
talent, but you see that ability to somehow figure a way to get out. Unfortunately for him, it's that. So maybe he needs to learn from the older pros and all that. But I think Ishan Kishan, again, I think when the conditions favor him, he's just a smack grab kind of a batsman. He can really hit you out of the park, and he'll get out to the most ordinary ball as well. So that's kind of Ishan Kishan's way to do it. But I like the intent that they went forward with. My concern, again, and I'm saying this with due respect, is the fact that Rishabh Pant has had a relatively ordinary few games, and he's really not gone in and shown what he's capable of, which we know he is. And the fact that Shreyas Iyer, will he be able to really mold himself into that number 5 finishing role? Because I think that in his domestic career and with Delhi, and I think he's more that number 3 batsman. Will he be able to play at number 5 and really blossom and change that thing? Just kind of go from the ball one. We know he has the capability. There's no denying that. But I think that consistency that is missing from 4, 5, and 6. I think that especially today when they got the opportunity, one of them should have really stepped up and gone on to take the mantle. It was lucky enough that the likes of Harshal Patel and Deepak Chahar were able to play those cameos in the end that got us to the 180. Otherwise, we were looking at 150, 160 suddenly. Like, if they wouldn't have gotten those 20, 30 runs extra in the end, that would have been a problem for us. So these are the kind of opportunities when 4, 5, and 6. I thought Vijay Shankar, sorry, not Vijay Shankar, Venkatesh Iyer was 20 or 15 is not bad, but I still think that just going on to play till the end and really just cement that 180 that was needed on this, which was actually a par score, but the bowlers did a fabulous job to restrict New Zealand to what they did. So there's just that small concern that remains, that middle order just not really clicking still, and this has been a problem for us for some time now. They've tried different players. I think that they should stick with. I think that 4, 5, and 6 at this point in time in T20 cricket is probably best with Pant, Iyer, and Iyer. But I think that they have to start looking at some other options and some backups as well on that front. If they
That
don't
short
work,
ball is still an issue. That short ball which Shreyas Iyer is still an issue, and he'll have to work on it. In Australia, they're going to really bounce him, so he'll have to really work on that. With Rishabh Pant, I have a small theory. I haven't tested it yet, so I don't know if it's confirmed or anything. Because the way he plays, this man is suited for T20 cricket. Go and look at his test innings, but his test innings are much more better. He scored more runs. There, his average is better, strike rate is everything is better in Test cricket.
Yeah.
My theory is that he plays better when the field is in the circle, and he just like gets to hit it over the top and take risks like that. Plays better against the red ball. When the field is spread out, finding those gaps, he finds that a bit difficult. That's why you see him get caught in the boundary, because he's trying to clear it. Like finding those gaps, through cover and point or through fine leg and square leg. I think he struggles there a bit. It's not a theory that I've tested 100%. I need to analyze it a bit more, but that's something I'm coming up with, because I just could not get my head around him performing so well in Test cricket and so poorly in comparison in T20 and one-day cricket. I haven't seen Rishabh Pant apart from IPL 2018 or 17, 2017 IPL.
18. I think it was 18.
But he hit Sunrisers out of the park. Yeah, 2018. Apart from that, I haven't seen him take this format into his hands, and this is the format for him. So that's my theory. I think is just that field, finding the gaps. Whereas in Test cricket, he can be a bit more expansive.
Right. The one thing that I've noticed about this, and I think I'm being extremely harsh, and I think that this is something that has worked for him in the past, is the fact that when you see Rishabh Pant in full flow, you see a swashbuckling Rishabh Pant, right? But when you are seeing a Rishabh Pant struggle, I think that his body just isn't stable enough to hit the cricket ball, where he kind of just moves a little too much, and
Yeah.
he tries to do something expansive, and I think he loses body shape, and that gets a little bit of a problem. We've seen that happen to cricketers in the past. When they lose their body shape, they invariably loft it right up in the air, and someone in the deep will be able to take an easy catch out there. So maybe just try to work on making that body shape like still and stable, and if it takes him a little longer to get going, that's fine as well. As long as he's also one of those kind, if he's like 1 of 10, he can easily become 40 of 20. It's not a problem for him to do that. So I think that just takes some time to just get used to it, unless you're coming in the 18th or 19th over and you have to go from ball one. But if you're coming in the 11th 12th over, you are the last 5 or 6, take a couple of overs just to settle down, and then just go bam. I think sometimes he goes a little too early, and that gets a little bit of a problem. Then being harsh, I don't think I'm at a point where I want to completely criticize him. I still think that he's a fabulous cricketer. I think he's a very, very good keeper. I think he's improved his keeping a lot. So it's just a matter of just now settling down into that number 4 role or number 5 role, whatever it is decided for him, and just go out there and do the business for the only thing is, when Virat comes back, then I think Surya Kumar moves at 4, and then Pant comes in at 5, so that gives a little bit more stability to the middle order. Maybe Shreyas Iyer will probably be the one to give way, so that will help, I think, because Surya Kumar is now starting to look back in good form as well.
Except for the last 2 games.
Well, yes, but I think if you play 1 and 3 games, you're still good enough to be in the Indian setup. So it's just a matter of these small fine tunings. But I think when they have the full strength, I think that these problems that we're talking about now will start to automatically dissolve. But some really good findings in this, like for example, Akshar Patel's form is good, Ashwin's form is good. The bowlers that have been criticized in the past, but we see a lot of bowling depth now with Harshal
That's what I want
Patel.
to talk to you about. Like, I mean, my question is that, because I know you're going to go towards what I'm going to say, but one thing that, before I get to Akshar Patel, I really want to discuss him. But before that, I just want to say the problem that India have had in the past, it kind of resolved in this game. Not resolved, but we saw what it can do when you fix this kind of problem. Bowlers who can contribute with the bat, and batsmen who can contribute with the ball. Venkatesh Iyer, you mentioned as well, but then Harshal Patel and Deepak Chahar. Deepak Chahar, 21 of 8 balls. Harshal Patel 18 of 11 balls. That's the game changer right there, where you go from a 150 score to a 180 score.
Absolutely, and I mentioned that earlier as well. I think that the fact that Harshal Patel, the fact that Deepak Chahar, yes, I still think that when Bumrah and Shami come back, they automatically get that spot of these 2 players. But will they give you as much with the bat that these guys give you? Of course, they'll give
Then
you
you
more
don't
with the
go
ball.
with them because you keep them for test and one day.
That's a fair shout as well. But I think that moving forward, especially for Indian cricket, with the talent that is available, I think that they will have to start to see how they can have format specialists. I think that's the way to go, because you have a test format specialist in Puji,
I mean,
in
yeah,
Rahane.
Bumrah and Shami are outstanding bowlers, but
Correct.
I'm just saying maybe you go with this kind of, in T20 cricket, maybe you can go with this kind of lineup where your bowlers can bat a bit, and it doesn't have to be your out and out quick bowlers. They can just be different T20 specialists. Someone like Umran Malik can be tried as well. He's not Jofra Archer level, but he has that pace and everything. Jofra Archer sticks to the short format. Of course, he's played Test cricket, but his format when he came into international cricket was T20 cricket.
Yeah, I think it will be important, especially to manage the workload that this Indian cricket has with the amount of people that are there. It's going to be very difficult to play a player in all 3 formats, unless you're special, like let's say a Bumrah or a KL or a Virat. At this point, I also think that Rohit Sharma should start, if he wants to elongate his white ball career. I think that red ball should probably take a back step for him, because I think I think as much as we've seen a beautiful late blossoming of him in the red ball career, I think that it's a little too late, and I think that he should start focusing on white ball, with now being the T20 captain, probably that format that is best for him, with as well as the 50 over format, and just focus on those 2 things, and take the breaks when India is on tour, for example, the next 2 weeks, which he is doing right now.
He's doing, yeah.
So I think that there's going to be more and more of this, because India plays, out of the 12 months, I think they play 11 months, barely get any breaks. So it's gonna be very important how they manage the workload and stuff. This is going to be a problem. Otherwise, you're going to find jaded players and you're going to lose games. So it's not that's something, and we've lost beautiful talent because of this as well. Irfan Pathan, for example, this one time where I always think that they tried a little too much with him. They played him almost every game. They used to bring him back
Yeah,
on flights
that
and
was
stuff
also
like
to
that.
do. That was also like to do like Greg Chappell giving more batting him one
Correct.
down and
Of
like
course.
messing
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
role as well. But
Yeah.
yeah, I see what you're saying. I agree with what you're saying in terms of workload management. That's exactly what I was saying. But if you just look at this game, you saw that of course, we saw you just talked about both of them, Harshal Patel, Deepak Chahar, and also Venkatesh Iyer. But if you just look at their bowling, I just wanted to get to that. Akshar Patel, his figures, three wickets. But the way he was brought on, Rohit Sharma, the captaincy, can you shed a bit of light on that, and then Akshar Patel's performance?
Oh man, yeah, he was brought on at a very interesting time. They were already 26 for no loss, I think, after 2 overs or something. It was, if I'm not wrong. I think they started off. Guptill was in full flow at that time. He went after Bhuvi and not Bhuvi. I think he went after Deepak Chahar. If that was the guy who bowled the second over, if I'm not wrong. But but yeah, and then he comes in and then he picks up 2 wickets in the over and really breaks the back of the New Zealand innings almost. And then eventually Chahal was able to clean up Guptill, and there was no contest after that almost. But yes,
Yeah,
and we've I mean, the more we talk about it, the more we'll be sounding like broken records. But we've been saying this for 4 years. I think in white ball cricket, especially T20s, I think the captaincy role is very, very important. And Rohit Sharma is probably a better captain than, with due respects to Virat Kohli. I think Rohit Sharma is a slightly better captain in these critical situations, to just try something a little bit more aggressive, or for example, try a Akshar Patel, or for that matter, I don't think that Virat would make that decision. I think he'd probably have gone with bringing in Harshal for the third over
yeah.
or something, a third pacer or something like that,
I'll tell
or
you why
maybe
it's
Ashwin also. So
yeah, I'll tell you why. Like I credited the captaincy because look, when you make this kind of decision, it goes your way. It doesn't. Akshar Patel could have gone into the stands because he's been expensive in his first over in the last two games, right? He's been expensive, but he saw Mitchell Santner. If you look at Mitchell Santner's figures, he picked up 3 wickets. He's the one who put the break on the innings.
yeah,
India would have gone to 200, but it was Santner who came in, and Santner brought himself on straight after the power play.
yeah,
So the
yeah,
seventh over, like 6.1, 6.2. So that's the
yeah,
seventh over, right?
yeah.
So seventh over is when he came. He picked those 3 wickets. I think Rohit Sharma calculated that. To be very honest with you, he saw that. Look, these guys are also getting hit. Santner came after the power play. Let me try Akshar Patel. So it was more calculated. He wasn't 100% sure that he's going to pick up wickets, but I think
Correct.
that's the route he thought of, and that's very clever captaincy.
And the pitch today was giving some assistance. It was gripping a bit, it was turning a bit, so it
Hmm.
was a smart thing to do to bring him in. And he was also able to get the left-hander out, if you remember, in that first over.
Yeah, yeah,
Left-hander, because you're coming in. If you get 1 wicket, a left-hander to a left-hander, because of the matchups and everything, that's not really a good matchup to have. But then he comes in, Chapman goes down the track, but he gets bowled, clean bowled. So
down
things
the
like that.
track.
Yeah, yes, he goes down the track. Yes, so yeah, it didn't work out for him. Hopefully, it works out for us. But 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 anyway, but I think captaincy, definitely, no doubt about it. Bang on as usual, Rohit Sharma. It's
Hmm.
expected of him to be a shrewd captain, and he's proving that time and again.
Yeah, I think that was very clever captaincy. And Akshar Patel, when there's a bit of a hint of spin, hint of turn, he always exploits that. We saw that in the Test series against England, and now as well. He's bowling pretty well. I feel that he has a tendency to get hit when it's not turning, but when it does turn on these pitches, he is kind of lethal. But I don't know. In Australia, I don't know if he can replicate the same thing with left-hand spinners. Even Jadeja, he's really improved his game. But left-hand spinners, like those kind of spinners, it's a bit harder, because sometimes they use the pace, sometimes they use the angle, so it's harder for these guys. They have to really come up with variations, and especially if they're playing in Australian conditions, it's not going to be easy for him.
And I think spin will be lesser effective. Not that there won't be any spin at all, but I think that
You need leg spin. You need leg spin.
yeah. So you probably
Big rounds, big rounds.
you have a Chahal come in at 8, and
Yeah,
then you need to probably go in with fast bowlers, for 3 fast bowlers, because Jaddu is probably your number 7 anyway, right?
yeah.
So, and then just Venkatesh Iyer and Jaddu, or Hardik Pandya and Jaddu, whoever that they take care of the fifth bowler role, and then you need 3 fast bowlers because you already have a spinner in your all rounders, and then you bring in a Chahal. So then that gives brings a question of, is Ashwin's involvement as needed as it is right now? But I think that Ashwin will probably be a proper solid player to have in the 15, just to give the experience to the squad people and just take them forward, especially in the bowling department. I think that he'll do a fine job. So I
Yeah,
think that with Chahal, you already have that problem sorted. Now you have to see which are your 3 top fast bowlers, and see who those guys are. Deepak Chahar, I think he's getting hit a little bit. I think a little expensive. So maybe they'll have to look at Bhuvi's had a decent tournament. So will it be Bumrah, Shami, and Bhuvi, or do they bring in another person? So these are things that they'll have to figure out. And I think that's where I also think that in terms of difference of bowling styles, I think Bumrah, Shami, and Bhuvi complement each other very well because all three are very different types of bowlers. Bhuvi comes in with your swing a little bit. Shami comes in with proper pace and hitting the seam, and Bumrah comes in with a lot of variations and stuff like that. So I think that three different kind of bowlers. Bhuvi and Chahar become very similar kind of bowlers, and then Siraj and Shami become similar kind of bowlers. So that I think that they should vary all three different kinds of bowlers. I think we're getting into too much details now, but that is something that they should look at. And this is what has been going on in my mind since morning. So
also,
I've been talking
rest. Also, rest. I feel like you need to pick some fresh. You need to whoever you're going to play in the World Cup, you have to wrap them a bit in cotton wool and of course play them and always have backup as well, like the likes of Harshal Patel and he might even be your starter. But yeah, I get what you're saying from New Zealand's perspective. I mean, some positives in terms of Chapman. He looked good in the last game. Glenn Phillips as well looked, I think, in the first game, and then Glenn Phillips looked decent in the last game. With the ball, Santner, I thought today he bowled beautifully. 4 overs, 27 runs, 3 wickets. The fast bowlers didn't really, help him. Sodhi also is a bit expensive. So it was just the Santner show with the ball and the bat. No one showed up today. But in general, the way Guptill is giving starts, the way Chapman played, with Williamson back into the side, I think they will be a better team.
Conway as well.
And I think they're just waiting for the World Cup. The bilateral series and stuff, they'll do their bit, they experiment and everything. And when it comes to ICC events, these guys keep the calm. And mentally, they're extremely, extremely strong.
Exactly. I think 100%. I think that these guys are solid. And I think that we always keep talking about it. This was like just kind of filling the numbers kind of series for them. 2 days after the World Cup, they play their first game in a different country altogether. Barely any time to settle down into the different conditions and everything. But having said that, I think that they did a fairly good job. They competed in the first and second game. I think this was the only game that they really got washed out. But you can never write this team off. Always come back at you strong, and who knows, in the Test series they prove a handful.
Yeah, no, 100%. I completely agree with that. For you, the player of the match and player of series.
Player of series is pretty easy. Rohit Sharma. I think player of the match, I wanted to give it to Santner, but I think that the batting show so solidly collapsed that it would probably make more sense to. I guess Harshal Patel, because he picked up a few wickets and he bowled, but batted them out of trouble as well, so to say, and not out of trouble, but batted them into the 180s. And he has a knack of picking up wickets. He's probably the most curious case of Harshal Patel, so to say, that you tend to think that is something that you can really back him, and that's what probably every batsman thinks, and then gets out in the deep all the time. 2 wickets in the second game, 2 wickets in the third game. It's making a habit of taking 2 wickets every game. So it's just beautiful to see that. I think I'd probably give it to Harshal Patel, man of the match, because I think with bat and ball, I think he was right up there. Or maybe you can give Rohit Sharma if you want.
Yeah, and player of the series?
Rohit Sharma.
I agree. Player of the series match for me, I'll go Akshar Patel. I just think he broke the bone in the power play, broke the backhand, the power play, and but I wouldn't I wouldn't disagree with Harshal Patel. That's my kind of man of the match impact player, and definitely he played well. Rohit Sharma, again, excellent captaincy, even batsmanship, both were outstanding, pinpoint. But a very good series for India. I think, like we mentioned, batsmen doing the job. Also, the way the bowlers defended today will give them a lot of pride going into the future tournaments, future matches. And now we have the Test series coming up, so I will get you for that. It's starting 25th. Like you said, there's no break for this Indian team. You're talking about 11 months. I think they play every month. It's just a few days break here and there. But we have 25th. We have the Test match, and then I think the first or something second, and then they're off to South Africa. That's going to be an outstanding tour. Hopefully, it'll be fun.
When they go to South Africa, they come back and they have something in the middle before the IPL as well, right? I can't remember.
Yeah, they'll have. Yeah. I think they have West Indies or England or something like that at home. But it's going to be some fun few weeks. Hopefully, I think we'll have the IPL auction soon coming. I'm waiting. You will give me the updates on that. And there's a few things.
I wish.
There's a few things we have to discuss also with the Ashes coming up, with the Tim Paine situation, and a lot of stuff. We're gonna discuss that as well. A bit closer to the Ashes, and a lot of cricket to talk about. So I will catch you. Is there anything you want to add about this series?
No, I just wanted to ask you one question. We spoke about the Rohit and Rahul era coming into a different form and everything, and of course a good start to them, a 3-0 whitewash against a
You're
relatively
talking about Rahul the coach or Rahul the vice captain?
Rahul the coach, Rohit and Rahul the
Okay.
coach. But yeah, so Rahul the coach, Rohit Sharma the captain. In T20 cricket, you have only 10 months to go, right? So
Yeah.
what are we spoke about this a little bit in the end, and I feel like only I spoke about it. I feel like I want to get your idea of things as well. In 10 months, we have another World Cup coming. And so, what are the boxes in your opinion that have been ticked, and what are the things that we have to still work on to really make sure that the World Cup is ours in 10 months' time?
I think one thing that's been ticked is, of course, squad depth. We've seen that there are replacements. We have some players, the likes of Harshal Patel, bowling. Venkatesh Iyer, that's a box tick. Like, we have a Hardik Pandya replacement. We thought that Hardik Pandya could not be replaced.
Yeah.
A lot of us thought that,
Yeah.
that we need a player like this. That's why we wrapped him in cotton wool and played him through the injuries and everything. But we have a player now that can be replaced. So you have to take chances here and there. What we have to improve on is the batting. I think the middle order in particular, we saw today, even in the World Cup, when Rohit and Rahul do not perform from the top, the Indian team is always under pressure, whether Virat Kohli is there or not. There is under pressure. That era is gone where, they get out early, then Virat Kohli takes the chase. It's that era is kind of it's not gone, but especially when there's early wickets, there's a lot of pressure on this Indian team. So middle order coming up, counter-attacking cricket, someone like a Maxwell type player, someone in the middle order, like Bairstow for England, or a Butler when he comes in the middle order, or Ben Stokes, something like that. We need a counter-attacking player when you're 10 for 2, but still to attack and take the score to 180.
Pant can do that, I think. Pant can do that, but he has to be a little bit more consistent.
He needs to be consistent. He needs to be more careful as well. Play a bit more smart. It's not about just smashing it, right? And then with the leg spin, I think that needs to be solved. The likes of Chahal, you need Chahal, Bishnoi, and Chahal. These guys needs to be given more games up until the World Cup, and you see who's the best. You take 2 in your squad, because I think you need a backup and you need one. Leg spinners will win you matches, I feel, and that's something that they will have to focus on a bit more. Another thing that we've talked about is, someone from the top order, apart from Venkatesh Iyer, needs to bowl as well. And from the bowling order, we need someone who can contribute with the bat, which you're slowly seeing here and there. And more than that, it's about preparation. The main thing that I want to focus on is Rahul Dravid and Rohit Sharma sitting together and managing the workload. How are they going to manage the workload from now until the next World Cup? Because you also have in that South Africa tour, not only do you have Test cricket, you have T20 matches coming up there. Then you have the IPL, which is 2 months of T20 cricket. Then you'll have the World Cup in October. In between, I'm sure they're going to play Sri Lanka, or they're going to do something in the summer. Yeah. So how do you manage the workload? Who is your priority? You still have to give Test cricket priority. That's the World Test Championship is in a new cycle. You have to give that priority. So do you start making specialists, and who do you rest for when? Because you can't rest Virat Kohli. If Virat Kohli is in your T20 scheme of things, you can't rest him in every series. He has to play as well. Yeah. But I think more the fast bowlers, how do you keep them fresh? How do you keep the batsmen fresh as well? How do you keep Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli fresh? I don't think both of them can play every series up until the World Cup. You need workload management. That's what they have to improve on, and that's what they have to focus on. Because if you look at the actual squad, we just mentioned a few weaknesses here and there. You said yourself that Rishabh Pant can do it. So there is personnel. What do you have to work on? What was the problem in that T20 World Cup? You give me that team any day against Pakistan or against New Zealand, I back that team to beat that team. Yeah. Beat that Indian team. It's planning and playing fearless cricket. And another thing, mental. I think they have to work on mental side of things, play fearless cricket, and not be afraid to lose. I think this Indian team plays such professional cricket and expect to win every game that if they lose one or two, it becomes a thing. I would rather them take risks and lose games like this in New Zealand or in South Africa, but then they become so polished that those risks, it takes them all the way to the World. Yeah, it pays off. You know what I mean?
Enough.
Australia, they lost the game against England. They got smashed in the World Cup, but they were World Cup winners.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think that's exactly what it is. I think just playing that fearless brand of cricket. So I think that'll be good to see. Yep.
Yeah, so that's what I would like to.
That wraps it up. We'll obviously have a lot more to talk over the next 10 months about this Indian cricket team, and they are our favorites, and we will always be backing them with some constructive criticism along the way.
Yeah, 100%. And there's some more series to talk about, a lot of off the field stuff. And we will discuss that in the days to come, because this series is done, but we'll discuss that along with the test match, which is going to come along soon.
Definitely, bud.
Thank you so much, man. Take care.
Yep, you do.